This is Golden Reels, American Archives.
In Prescott, Arizona, during the P-40 Warhawk latest reunion. And we have with us here today
Alexander Jefferson,
and your address there?
18126 Brinker, Detroit, Michigan, 48234. Lieutenant Colonel USAF, retired.
And your date of birth?
15 November 1921.
Okay, and you were in World War II and any others?
Nope, only in World War II. I went into service, well, first of all, Tuskegee High School in Detroit, 1938. Clark College, Atlanta, Georgia. Chemistry and biology. I majored in chemistry and biology. I minored in math and physics, 1942. And at that time, if there had been if I'd been caught in the draft as a Negro, I would go into quartermaster. Heavy, nasty, dirty work, $21 a month. But the opportunity came to become a pilot because the Army had been badgered by the NAACP, Urban League, to admit blacks to fly in the Army Air Corps. And we had to be college graduates at that time to be qualified for pilot training. And I qualified, and I thought I was going to go to Tuskegee Airfield for pilot training. They told me to go home and wait. So, September 42, I graduated in June. So September, I went to Howard University, the chemistry, master's in chemistry, until April 43, the orders came to go to Tuskegee Airfield. And I quit Howard University, and bingo, went to Tuskegee Airfield to become a pilot. As a pilot, you made $75 a month. And after 9 months, you became a second lieutenant, made $150 a month, plus 75, plus the wings, the bars, all pretty good. There was a difference. But I enjoyed pilot training. It was exciting to me because I put together model airplanes. I read about the World War I, comic books of World War I, fighter pilots of World War I, fight the Germans and fought for us. I enjoyed pilot training. Of course, there were 125 men who started my class. I finished 44, January 44. Approximately 125 guys started. Only 20% finished 9 months later. The washout rate was tremendous, but it was competitive. Fortunate enough to finish. After finishing in January, we stayed 1 month at Tuskegee Airfield in Alabama. We flew the P-40, 10 hours of the P-40. And after that, we were assigned to Selfridge Air Force Base in Michigan, right north of Detroit. Last one in Detroit. And while there, we were transitioned into P-39s. 200 hours in the P-39. And it was at Selfridge we were planning to get into the officers' club. Segregation. On the base, there were approximately 35 to 40 black pilots, and with their enlisted men, and a tremendous number of white officers and personnel. We were denied entrance into the Luckberry Hall. The officers' club. Turned away many times. Finally, I taken one of the rooms of the best, put a wooden bar in it, and said, "Okay, guys, this day I was out over Lake Huron, flying gun range. We were flying P-39s firing at a tow target. And the radio said, all officers report to Post Theater on the double, as you are. So quite naturally, we rolled around, landed, walked up to Post Theater in flying suits. The black officers and the white officers on base. What's going on? We don't know. We went in, and all of a sudden, down there, so the two-star general. What the heck's going on? He ran it on and on. He talked for about 2 or 3 minutes. And these are the words I remember all my life. Gentlemen, this is my airfield. As long as I'm in command, there will be no socialization between white and colored officers. Are there any questions? Quite naturally, there were second lieutenants. We were stunned. And then he said, hands up. We stood up. Oh. If there are any questions, I will deal with that man personally. Someone said, hands up. We stood up. He walked out. That was Thursday. We locked the gates. And when you lock gates on an officer, arrest. All the black officers were restricted close. Saturday morning, they backed in close. And we were loaded up. We got a black, enlisted person. And that's when we got Selfridge and went north, through the tunnel, across to Niagara Falls. To this day, we have never seen PCS orders, permanent stations. We were transferred to rural South Carolina, 45 miles west of Charleston, 85 miles northwest of Savannah, one of these small areas built along the eastern seaboard in opposition to an invasion. And it was kept in students, young and husky. And when the train stopped, we jumped off quite naturally, shot pinks and greens. Every 20 feet there was a little white soldier in full battle dress with a rifle and grenades, because they were expecting Negroes who had rioted, kicked out of Selfridge Field. I was there only 2 weeks because my class went overseas to join the 337th Battalion. After that, there was much confusion in Walterboro because it was right there in South Carolina. A lot of confusion, but I didn't have experience. My class, 44, we joined the 332nd Fighter Group in May, that part of May, because on June 7th, the overseas army on the ship going to I was on the ship that ran the Atlantic 7 days, all by itself. I joined the 332nd Fighter Group in the latter part of June as a replacement pilot. 301st Fighter Squadron. I mentioned we left Naples and by truck across the train across to Ramitelli, basically right on the heel of Italy, on the educator. And the morning I joined the group. I remember coming in, sitting in a 6x6 at the end of the runway, watching the P-47 the last mission, 332nd flight. And P-47 took off the middle of the stalled and went in. That was our introduction to combat. I was there for the introduction to the P-51. I flew 18 and 1/2. All my missions were long-range escorting B-17s from Italy to France, Italy to Germany, Italy to Croatia, Italy to Greece. 18 long-range missions, high altitude, where the bombers were at 22, 23, and we were at 23, 24, 25. And what the night one in which we were assigned to straight radar stations on the coast of southern France. The invasion of southern France, which came off on the 15th of August. And the 301st had the target right outside the radar stations on the coast, right outside the city of Toulon, on the cliff. 301st went in, and I was number 16, James Charlie. Of all the first 4 flights, next 4 flights, 4. And the last 4 flights, I'm tail end Charlie. My flight went in to fire on these radar stations. I saw Danny, he was number 2. When he got hit about 2,000 yards off, he turned off, went in, and landed in water because he was afraid to bail out. And when I went across the top of the target, the iron shell came up through the floor and fired. And ironically, we had never had any instructions on how to get out of the P-51. When the P-51s came in, and I walked out to look at the darn thing, the mechanic said, "Lieutenant, here's mags, here's how you check your mags, here's the throttle, here's the landing gear, here's the flaps. We take off, we flew 3 hours. Fire came up out of the floor, and quite naturally, to this day, I reiterate this story. And in my mind, pull up off the deck, going 400 miles an hour. And as you go up, reach up, pull a little red knob, the canopy goes off. You get up with forward trim tab. So if you turn the stick loose, the nose will dip. Well, I got up, I don't know, maybe 800 feet, maybe 1,000. Turn the stick loose, the nose dipped. I hit the buckle on these straps. They came loose, when the nose dipped, I came out. I remember the tail going by, and I pulled the D-ring. I remember looking at something and said, "Oh hell, too low." And by that time, boom, popped up. I'm going down through the trees. Scratches, bruises. Remember, they told us that if we went down in southern France, dig a hole and hide your parachute, you get with the Free French, the French Marquis. Hell, I hit the ground, rolled over, and the damn German said, "Ja, ach so, ja, Leutnant." I said, "Oh, hell yeah." I landed right in the middle of the guys who shut me down. So I spent 9 months in Germany as a POW. Got to Frankfurt on the Main, where we were interrogated. The German officer got a big book at the table and said, 332nd Fighter Group, Negroes, Red Tails. Tails are painted red for hair identification. And he had a tremendous number of pictures, and I looked at it, and he finally said, "Lieutenant, isn't that you? There's my class picture." Note it. These pictures had been published in many magazines and newspapers all the time, so somebody back here was accumulating this information. They had my complete high school records, all my marks in college. They knew more about me than I knew about myself. They even knew the amount of checks my dad paid on his house. Find out when I got to POW camp. All of this information was accrued by all the other POWs also. When I got there, I was number 4 black. I was the 4th member out of my unit in POW. There were 5,000 American flying officers in Stalag Luft 3, 80 miles east of Berlin, in the Polish border. And every one of these other guys, all the whites, they also admitted to the fact that the Germans had all this information on them also.
Really?
They knew their high school records, college records, they knew everything. This was German intelligence at the time. And today, when I tell this to high school kids, I said, today they don't have to worry about it. Because every one of you has a number. What is it? You look at each other, and after about 4 or 5 minutes, oh, a social security number. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
And everything about you will fall out. But spent 9 months in Germany as a POW.
How were you treated?
I was treated as an officer and a gentleman. Geneva Convention. Because the officers are placed in a barbed wire and could not make the officers work. But if you're enlisted personnel in a different camp, the enlisted personnel could be made to work on the roads and lines and so forth. So literally, I sat the war out, and the only thing that was missing was food. Many of the guys lost weight. Some of the guys have been in there 2.5 to 3 years, lost 8 or 9. Some of the guys went from North Africa. They lost 10, 15, 20 pounds. And, but that's another thing. But when the Russians started pushing through in January 45, January 45, to prevent us from being recaptured by the Russians, the Germans put us out on the road, and we walked 80 kilometers west. Quite naturally, we didn't want to be rescued by the Russians anyway. And it was 80 below zero, it was 20 below zero. It was colder than hell. And ironically, we laugh about it now because the German guards who walked along with us were the most strong, the old men with white hair. And they complained, hell, they were 65 and 70. And many of us helped carry their guns, the rifles, because these men, they couldn't hardly make it. Right? I remember that now. I think about it. Now, I'm at the same age as those men who guarded me. I think about it now. We walked from Stalingrad 3 to Springburg, then they put us on these 40 and 8s. And instead of 40, they jammed in 60 to 70 to 80. And so many we could not lie down.
Railroad cars?
Railroad cars with 40 and 8s. We wound up at Stalag 7A near Munich. And it was there in which we were liberated by Patton's Third Army on the 29th of August, 45. The place was, well, it had been covered with, I suspect, Russian prisoners or something, because the place was littered with lice and bed bugs. It was horrendous. It was a horrible place. A lot of us slept outside on the tents because the barracks inside were infested with rodents. A tremendous number of Russian prisoners were on the other side of barbed wire. The Germans treated the Russians horribly. Oh, they were horrible. Refused to give them food. If it had not been for International Red Cross food parcels, we would have stopped because food in Germany was almost nil. But that's another story. But we were finally liberated by Patton's Third Army on the 29th of April. And that's when somebody said, 2 days later, we were waiting for transportation back, and somebody said, hey, Jeff, there's a place down the road with a lot of dead people. What the hell are you talking about? He said they got dead people down there stacked up like cordwood. Dead people. So we got cheap. Broke the ride. You could smell the place 2 miles before you got to it, because the ovens were still warm. So I reiterate to a lot of high school kids, everybody's barbecuing in your neighborhood on Saturday morning. Do you smell barbecue? Well, the ovens were still warm. You could smell the human flesh. I'll never forget. Tables covered with hair, because before they burned the human bodies, they had somebody to cut off the hair, use the hair cushions. Tables covered with jewelry, rings, gold and amalgam, because before you burn the bodies, you have somebody with a pair of pliers pulling off the gold and the amalgam. Table just covered with gold and amalgam. Man's inhumanity to man. Someone back here had the audacity to tell me that the Holocaust never happened. Oh yes, Oh, yes, I've given presentations in the Thumb District in Michigan. Who's the guy from Oklahoma? The bombing in Oklahoma. What was his name? Terry?
Oh, yeah.
From the Thumb District.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he came from. And some of these characters said the Holocaust. Mr. Jefferson, the Holocaust never happened. Jews never were. I said, oh, and then I had to use deleted words and describing how they would have to, so many bodies, you had to take a bulldozer and dig a trench and shove these bodies over in there and cover them with lines. Man's inhumanity to man. But at the same time, I tell this, I relate this to black audiences. I said, wait a minute, have you forgotten the Black Holocaust? What do you mean, Mr. Jefferson? How many black Africans died on the Middle Passage between Africa and these shores? Millions. Man's inhumanity to man. Same thing going on 2 or 3 years ago in Bosnia, the Muslims. Same thing going on in India, where the Muslims and the Hindus are killing each other. Same thing with Saddam Hussein, who was a Shiite, or was he a Sunni?
Shiite.
He was a Shiite, killing the Sunnis.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Man inhumanity to man. Same thing in Burundi. Burundi, where the Tutsis, two black ethnic troops, the Tutsis and the Hutus, millions in the Sudan, in Nigeria, Liberia. Taylor, this gave Taylor in Liberia, in Ghana, man inhumanity to man. South America, Colombia, the same thing. All over the world. During the Vietnam, the Moulin Rouge, all over the world, man's inhumanity to man. I was simply fortunate enough to see one particular series of it, but it's stuck in my memory all of these years. I came back after the war and became a school teacher, stayed in the reserves, and finished elementary science school teacher. I wanted to be a research chemist, but after going through war and coming back, I had to go back to school and with a wife and kids and a mortgage. And I said, oh, heck no, I don't have time enough for that. So I became an elementary school teacher, teaching science. I had one big, hell of an enjoyable life. Super life. I enjoyed it, had a ball. Today, as an example, I just had prostate radiation about 3 or 4 years ago. My urologist is my former 6th grade student. And ministers of churches are my former students. Some of the characters who have been killed, notorious former students. But life has been darn good to me. Still, at least once a week going into some school talking to young people about how to join the system, the best system in the world. Now, it ain't perfect. I have been colored, Negro, Afro-American, African-American, black, whatever. But trying to teach these young people today how to join the best system in the world. It ain't perfect, and teachers ain't supposed to say ain't. It's not perfect, but at least try to tell these young people to join the system to get on the inside in order to vote and to become part of it. Don't stand on the outside. What are y'all doing? Y'all ain't doing this. You're always finding fault. But life has been very good to me. Very, very good. Very profitable. I've enjoyed it. To tell you the truth, with a bunch of characters like the P-40 organization. we're old kibbutz. We can't help it. No. I go to Tuskegee Airman reunions. By the way, there were approximately 1,000 men who got their wings in World War II. Approximately 1/4 of us are still living. For every one pilot, there's 10 other blacks who are cooks, bottle washers, truck drivers, clerks, doctors, nurses, because we were segregated. There were approximately 15,000 people who are, quote, Tuskegee Airmen. And today, approximately 1/4 of us are still living. There's a chapter in every large city. Every large city has a Tuskegee Airman chapter. And we meet once a year, every August, either East Coast, West Coast, or Central, for a reunion. Bring our grandchildren, and we still get together, talk about the so-called good old days, which were good with a darn, but we still enjoy them. I belong to the P40 organization. Anybody who touched the P40, plus those who didn't touch it, want to join, come on out and talk about the good old days. The P47 organization, the P51 organization, plus you name it, we get together and enjoy.
All right.
We enjoy. So between Tuskegee Airman, P40, P51, Clark College, Howard University, you name it, still involved. Still involved. I know I've missed a heck of a lot of things, but to give an overall picture of the things I've been through. I've got a book coming out. All of this yakking is in my book. It's supposed to come out in January or February through the Fordham University Press. While I was a POW, I drew a series of pictures. Got about 6 or 7 pictures. And these pictures are going to be included in this book. In color, I hope, with all the comments. I'm looking forward to it.
What's the name of your book?
Sometime in January, February.
What's the name of the book? The title?
Tuskegee Airman Captured, Tuskegee Airman Free. Memoirs of a POW. Tuskegee Airman POW. Memoirs of a Tuskegee Airman POW. And there I was, a typical, there I was. But it'll go in detail more about my life, how I grew up in Detroit, and many of the discriminatory things that I saw as a child. All through life, how we had to sit on the front of the train. Remember, trains were propelled by smoke and coal, and the blacks were in the first car behind the smoke. And you could not go to the dining car. This is previous World War II. And coming back after the war, coming down the gangplank in New York Harbor, a big sign, whites to the right, Negroes to the left. Coming back home after serving. And ironically, through the Tuskegee Airmen and other blacks in World War II, the 761st Tank Battalion that led Patton down through France, a bunch of bad guys, they're black, they were bad. Bad, really, actually very, very good. Who were the guys, the truck drivers who kept gasoline going to Patton?
Red Ball?
The Red Ball Express. These are blacks. When a movie was made, the guys were all white.
Oh, wow.
See how history has changed? Well, due to the Red Ball Express, 761st, the other blacks who fought, and Tuskegee Airmen. In 1948, old man Truman took out his pen, and his executive order, 9981, he integrated the armed forces. And, ironically, what happened 6 years later? If you integrate your armed forces, social change, Brown versus Board of Education, 6 years later, which opened up the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm, Johnson with the voters' rights, the whole shebang. I've lived through this, and the rest of us have lived through it. And we have been part of this change of America. And it's been exciting, very exciting. Even today, we go wherever we want to go, up to as much as our money can. Because there's certain places in Flagstaff, is that the place? Certain places my money can't take me anyway. But it's been an exciting life. I don't know where to go from here, but that's about it.
Well, we thank you, Alex, for sharing your story. We were enthralled, that's for sure. We enjoyed it.
I've left out a whole lot of stuff. Left out a lot of detail, but glad to get this on film. So that somewhere down the line, somebody can